Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
Gary Anderson, Lawrence Joseph Babiak, Morris Lee Bargy, Michael Alexin Baranowski, Harold Lawton Basham, John Robert Bean, George Beatty, Dwight Farwell Bennett Jr., Paul Brian Benoit, Joseph Carlton Blackwell, Heriberto Blanco, Dennis Dean Bogle, Richard Howard Boise, Roderick Wayne Brio, Dale Conard Brewer, Evangelos K. Karanajos, Gary Lee Carlson, Elman C. Caudle II, John Lenwood Chase, Linus Gerard K. Chalk, Robert Steve Clements, Theodore R. Conley Jr., Victor Lincoln Crump, Franklin D. Deffenbaugh, Vesti Timothy Driggers, Lawrence Richard Duffy, Robert Otto Etter, Roy Allen Epperson, Wilson Nathaniel Flowers, George Arthur Foster III, Stephen Forrest Freeman, James Michael Garrett, John Rufus Gaston Jr., Jack Ronald Gibbs, Johnny Reese Godwin Jr., Jesus Ephraim Gomez Jr., Raymond Henry Gray, Samuel A. Grayson III, Felbin Michael Green, Thomas Owen Green, Melvin Ricky Green, Ronald Raphael Greenhouse, Virgil D. Griffey, Ralph Stephen Guck, Ralph Gerald Hamlin Jr., Peter Michael Hansen, Irvin Ellis Harris, Carol James Hebert, Henry Nicholas Heidi II, Donald Lee Hettich, Billy Jack Hogan Jr., Dennis Wayne Holturf, Billy Eugene Hughes II, Joseph Arthur Jacques, Robert Bruce Johnson, Charles A. Johnson III, Louis Farr Jones, Howard Lee Jones, Jerry Edward Keckel, William Daniel Kennedy III, William Arnold Ketchum Jr., John Mark King, Jack Dale Knepp, Charles Louis Kellenberg, John Martin Covanda, Kenneth Bruce Cohee Kozai, John Peter Kurz, Gerald Leopold Latini, Melvin Letterman, Richard John Leffler, Leroy Edward Linton, Clarence Logwood, Sammy James Long, Ray Frank Long, David Carl Louthan, James William Lunsford Jr., Kenneth Allen Luce, Calvin Bernard Matthews, John Eugene Mattingly, Herman Alvin McBride, Alfred Fraser McCants, James Irvin McCarthy Jr., Michael George McManus, Arthur John Menn, Jesus Quinane Mano, Homer Ray Middleton, Donald John Miller, Michael Melner, Jose Luis Marino, Theodore Morgan Jr., Cecil Gerald Moyer Jr., Grayson Henry Newberry, Kenneth Harold Knorr, Michael Andrew O'Keefe Jr., Douglas Harold Paris, Henry Bennett Parsons III,
Terrell Glenn Potosafis, Charles Varens Penn, John Michael Pasecki, Terry Paul Pierce, Norbert Albert Podhusky, Robert Joseph Polanak, John Shelby Pooler, Gary Davis Prince, Dennis Joseph Reardon, Kenneth Allen Rowe, Henry Louis Rogers, John Wayne Rolls, John Morton Roper, Stephen Charles Ruby, Ted James Rule, James Francis Saxby, Robert Dean Schneider, Bobby Darrell C., Stephen Carl Sharp, Willie Lee Seagog, Larry Eugene Shepard, Donald Anthony Slate, James Ronald Smith, James Arthur Snook, Richard G. Stamper Jr., James Cecil Starnes, Daniel Scott Steele, Thomas Raymond Steinbeck, George Leo Stoltzman, James Edward Stubblefield, Robert Joseph Tronto, Ronnie Carl Teschendorf, Clyde Eugene Thomas, Clarence James Tiffany, Gary Leon Trujillo, William Miller Vitale, Ward Gunnar Walter, Douglas Leroy Warner, Larry Elliott Watson, Harry Allen Watson, Richard Allen Weaver, John Ray Williams, Hurston Edward Worrell, Robert Earl Young, James Bruce Young.